Chapter 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The smoke was vast and the water was jagged. A figure appeared on the calm lake. It looked like a child, because he was only about 1 meter tall. He had 6 whiskers on his face. His thin face was full of indifference, but his eyes were very bright, and his sky-blue pupils revealed depth. Yellow hair was reflected in the water. Suddenly, a small fish broke this seemingly peaceful scene. Swish. Suddenly, a wooden stick stabbed in. It was sharpened towards the water. Soon, blood stained the lake. The fish that was jumping just now was stabbed by the sharpened wooden stick. After struggling violently for 2 seconds, the breath of life began to weaken and finally disappeared. The size is not bad, it seems that we can have another good meal. That it was the boy who was standing by the water just now. The boy's name was Uzumaki Naruto, and the place where he was called Konoha Village. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind, fishing proficiency plus 10. Naruto was no longer surprised by the voice in his mind. When he came to this world, he seemed to have obtained the ability of God's reward for hard work. As long as he did it, he could gain proficiency or other aspects of anything. For example, fishing may also include a very small strength bonus and agility bonus, but the voice in his mind did not prompt it. In fact, he was not the original Uzumaki Naruto in this world, but he did not know whether he was in his second life or reborn, because when he just became conscious, what echoed in his mind was the earth-shaking Ninetales rebellion. He also clearly remembered that a red-haired woman had admonished him in his ear and told him to follow the 3 ninja prohibitions. He knew that this woman, the princess of the Whirlpool country, his current mother, Uzumaki Kushina, the wife of the 4th Hokage and the previous Ninetales Jinchuriki. He confirmed that the reason he traveled through time was mainly because of his innate powerful soul talent. It was impossible for a child to have such a powerful soul power, or it could be said that the souls of both had merged into one. This instantly gave him a sense of belonging to this place. It also made Naruto shed tears unconsciously when he heard the woman's words, listening to the woman's sincere voice. As an orphan in his previous life, he rarely experienced the preciousness of family affection, but all of this was ruined. But as a baby at the time, he was almost sleepy, and when he came to his senses, the Ninetales rebellion had already passed. His previous name was meaningless, and he is now called Uzumaki Naruto. Life after that was even worse than he had imagined. He thought that the original work had already shown a terrible appearance, but the reality was far more cruel than he had imagined. There was no real treatment for the son of a hero, and even he himself, the son of the 4th generation, was not treated as a hero. All news was blocked. When Naruto was a child, he was left to a nanny. At some point, rumors of a demon fox started to spread in the village. The scary thing was that soon his appearance became well known, and he became a demon fox that everyone in the village wanted to kill. The nanny abused him in every way, and the Umbu who was actually protecting him and monitoring him in secret turned a blind eye to this, and even revealed hatred and murderous intent towards him, but they quickly restrained themselves. As for why Naruto knew this, it was actually thanks to Naruto's powerful mental power. After 2 lives as a human, Naruto's mental power is much stronger than in the original work, which allowed him to awaken a talent that few people in the Uzumaki clan have awakened, the Kagura Heart's Eye. This is the strongest perception talent in the Uzumaki clan. Naruto can easily feel the outside world's investigations and the Umbu hidden around him. And at the age of 3, Naruto relied on the god's reward for hard work, ability, and took the initiative to apply for a person to live. This may be an incredible thing in the previous life, but in this world where life is worthless and even 6-year-old children have to go to the battlefield, nothing is impossible. After a period of persuasion, the 3rd generation agreed to Naruto's request. The physical fitness of people in the ninja world is relatively good, and the body cells are several times that of people in the previous life. When he was 3 years old, the 3rd generation sent people to teach Naruto literacy and some basic knowledge. Under Naruto's deliberate rhetoric, he wanted to get the chakra practice method. He knew that only strength could keep him alive. However, the 3rd generation did not agree, because the body was too small, and refining chakra too early would squeeze the body's potential. Naruto thought about it and didn't say it, because he didn't want to squeeze the potential too early. Although the life in Konoha was full of malice towards him in the early stage, the danger was not very great. And the third generation would not deceive him in this regard, relying on the ability of God rewarding hard work. Naruto also has power far beyond that of ordinary peers, and he will not be bullied like in the original. Every time Naruto does something, a voice will sound in his mind, and he has become accustomed to its existence over the years. When Naruto runs, a reminder will sound in his mind. Physical strength +2, strength +1, constitution +1. This also makes Naruto more keen on running, but the villagers are very malicious towards him, and Naruto does not want to go to the village, but goes to the woods behind the mountain. In the eyes of the Umbu, this is a very active boy, but also very strong. Naruto is very excited while running, and the sense of power that keeps coming from his body makes him feel very safe. This may be the golden finger for his survival, although it is not as systematic as the legendary colleagues of the time traveler, who can beat the sky, the earth, and the air in seconds. From time to time, he completes a task, draws a prize from time to time, and reaches the peak of his life early. Naruto is already very satisfied, after all, with the physique of the Uzumaki clan, plus a large power bank in his body, plus the ability of God's reward for hard work. As long as he does not commit suicide, he will sooner or later reach the peak of his life. But Naruto found that the ability of God's reward for hard work is not without limit. It mainly depends on him to do it to get the bonus. Doing it once is equivalent to the gains that others can get after doing it 10 or even dozens of times. Naruto had also tried to silently call for things like the system interface, but obviously, there was nothing, except for a prompt tone that only he could hear. However, it also allowed Naruto to gain physical fitness far beyond that of children of the same age. In order to gain more growth, Naruto tried to do many things, but in the eyes of others, he was a more active type. The Umbu also reported Naruto's reaction to the third Hokage. The third Hokage did not doubt anything, but just sighed that Naruto inherited the vitality of his mother Uzumaki Kushina, worthy of the physique of the Uzumaki clan. The third Hokage also often appeared beside Naruto to ask about his well-being. Whenever this happened, Naruto acted very happy, of course half true and half false. It was really Naruto who took the opportunity to ask the third Hokage for living expenses every time. His monthly living expenses were only 1,500 yuan. What could this money do? How much did a bowl of Ichiraku ramen cost? 60 taels, but it was indeed worth the money. As for other places, Naruto had no chance to buy food at all. The uncle of Ichiraku ramen and his daughter Ayame were rarely people who had no ill will towards him. The current Naruto is not the original Naruto. He knows how much money the fourth Hokage had when he was alive. Although he doesn't know the exact amount, it is definitely a lot. Now all of it has been taken away by Konoha or the third Hokage. Every month, it is not even enough for his living security, although it is to show his presence in front of him from time to time. Naruto knows what the third Hokage is thinking. He often preaches the will of fire in front of him, trying to play the family card with him, and finally holding his trump card of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki tightly in his hand. Chapter 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the process of getting along with the third generation, Naruto relied on his ability of God's law to reward hard work and actually improved his acting skills to a very high level, but I didn't expect that the third generation was actually a cunning old man. Every time Naruto asked for money, he would always refuse, and every time he brought Naruto some food and small things to make Naruto grateful. If the original Naruto really thought that the third generation of Hokage was really good to him, he would probably shed a few tears and said, "Grandpa, third generation is the best to me." But how could the current Naruto be fooled? He was pretending, which made the third generation very satisfied, thinking that he could hold Naruto, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, in his hands. As for why Naruto showed this look, it was mainly to guard against Danzo. Naruto knew that in the early stage, Danzo had never given up on taking Uzumaki Naruto into the root. If Naruto showed dissatisfaction with the third generation of Hokage in the early stage, or was very indifferent, if Naruto did not meet the expectations of the third generation, it would really be possible for Danzo to succeed. After all, it was necessary to ensure the absolute loyalty of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki to the village. The third generation of Hokage in the early stage could be regarded as Naruto's umbrella. When he was 4 years old, Naruto asked the third Hokage again to learn how to refine chakra. This time, the third Hokage did not refuse, because at this time, most of the big families had already begun to teach the younger generations in the family to practice, and in the heart of the third Hokage, teaching Naruto to become a ninja would surely deepen Naruto's feelings for him. However, the third Hokage did not teach Naruto anything else except teaching him to practice. But Naruto was already very satisfied. Mastering the method of refining chakra meant mastering the key to power. After teaching Naruto, the third Hokage returned to the Hokage building, looking at the prosperous scene outside the window, with a smile on his face. This is his era. He is the greatest Hokage. Suddenly, the third Hokage seemed to have thought of something and took out the crystal ball. Suddenly, some pictures appeared on the crystal ball, which turned out to be a women's bathhouse. Looking at the pictures inside, the third Hokage Yuan Fei Hiruzen's face couldn't help but turn red. Ding! The sound of a door opening violently was heard, and the Sandai quickly closed the screen on the crystal ball. When he saw the person coming, he said with a slightly angry look, "Danzo. Why didn't you knock on the door? Haven't I always been like this? Hiruzen, hand over the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki to me, and I will train him to be a ninja who is absolutely loyal to Konoha." Danzo slapped his hands on the table and said loudly. "Danzo, Naruto will never be handed over to you, so forget it." The third generation sternly rejected Danzo. "Hiruzen, you have to know that I am doing all this for Konoha. If you hand over the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki to me, I will definitely train him into a qualified weapon of war." Danzo's eyes were sharp, staring at the third Hokage. "He is Minato's child, don't forget that." "Danzo. Don't forget, I am the Hokage." The third Hokage looked at Danzo and said in a deep voice. "Humph. You will regret this, Hiruzen." Danzo looked at the third Hokage deeply, then turned away and left. "That's right. Close the door." The voice of the third Hokage suddenly came, and Danzo was stunned for a moment. "Humph." With a cold snort, Danzo left without closing the door. After walking out of the Hokage building, Danzo's heart was already filled with anger. "Hiruzen, I will definitely become the Hokage. Only I can lead Konoha to glory. You wait and see." On the other hand, after learning the chakra refining technique, Naruto was ecstatic and couldn't wait to experiment. To Naruto's surprise, his ability of hard work was also effective in refining chakra. Chakra +3, chakra +5. He just tried it once according to the third Hokage's explanation. According to the third Hokage, if one can extract chakra within one day, he has a talent for cultivation, and if one can extract chakra within a few hours, he is a genius. And Naruto, with the ability of God's reward for hard work, actually extracted chakra in one time, which is incredible. After refining it a few times again, Naruto stopped refining chakra, because the chakra scroll given by the third Hokage was marked that chakra cannot be extracted excessively. It said that it can be refined up to 10 times a day, of course, based on his current age, but Naruto stopped after a few times, because God's reward for hard work has given him a lot of chakra, plus the physique of the Uzumaki clan. There is no need to refine chakra too much. Too abnormal chakra will arouse suspicion. Now the most important thing is to try to control the chakra in the body. Naruto tried to condense the chakra in his body in his hands, but it was not as easy as he imagined, and it was even a little difficult. Naruto frowned. Although it was his first time to mobilize chakra, it shouldn't be so difficult. With his spiritual power, it shouldn't be that difficult to mobilize chakra. Suddenly, Naruto seemed to think of something. Yes, it should be the Nine Tails. The original work mentioned that the Nine Tails chakra would interfere with Naruto's control of chakra. Suddenly, Naruto was a little awakened. He was still under the surveillance of the Anbu. At this moment, Naruto suddenly woke up. Genius is a good thing, after all. He is the son of the fourth Hokage and Uzumaki Kushina, but at this time, it is not a good thing to behave like a demon. Genius is normal. There is no shortage of geniuses in this world, but it is not normal to behave too demonically. Naruto pretended to be still trying to refine chakra. After an hour, Naruto pretended to be very excited. The Anbu in the dark looked at Naruto's excitement and couldn't help but sigh that Naruto is really a genius. there are 4 Umbu monitoring Naruto. In Naruto's perception, there are 2 on the tree outside the window, 1 in the corner of the room, and 1 on the roof. One of them showed malice towards Naruto. Naruto didn't know why. It might be because of his identity as a demon fox. After refining the chakra, Naruto tried to mobilize the chakra in his body and attach it to his hands. He failed several times, but the sound coming from his body surprised Naruto. Chakra control +1, chakra control +2. After the sound appeared, Naruto felt as if he had practiced dozens of times. Although he still felt very sluggish, he was extremely happy. This was a guarantee for his success. As time passed, the 3rd generation was very satisfied with Naruto's performance. When he heard the reports from his subordinates, he fully inherited the 4th generation's talent and Kushina's physique, plus the existence of the 9 tails in his body. As long as Naruto fully trusted himself, the future would be promising. Danzo. This is the true way to control people. This reminds the 3rd generation of the talented boy Uchiha Shisui. It's a pity that he is a member of the Uchiha clan. However, the Uchiha clan must be eliminated. All this is for Konoha. The 3rd generation took a puff of the pipe in his hand and exhaled thick smoke. Chapter 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Half a year has passed slowly. Naruto looked at the fish in the bucket and swallowed his saliva. The living expenses given by the 3rd generation were not enough for his daily life, and the people in the village hated him. Although the owner of Ichiraku Ramen often helped him, he could not get enough nutrition by eating ramen alone. After learning chakra, coupled with his ability of God's reward for hard work, Naruto's physical strength far exceeded that of his peers, but Naruto did not show all his strength. The strength he usually showed was only about 1/10 of his full strength. This has already made the Umbu in the dark side his genius. Fire escape, small fireball technique, that he skillfully performed an E-level ninjutsu. Although it was a ninjutsu, it was only the size of a fist and was simply used for comedy. In fact, Naruto begged the 3rd Hokage for it. The 3rd Hokage only gave Naruto this ninjutsu, which was similar to a play, on the grounds that ninjutsu was too dangerous and required that only after attending the ninja school would there be a special teacher to teach Naruto. However, Naruto, through the ability of God rewarding hard work, has become extremely proficient in this small fireball technique. Naruto has even improved it to form a large fireball technique, which is slightly weaker than the Great Fireball. Although he has never seen a Great Fireball, he has seen the Great Fireball technique from the scenes of his previous life. This fire escape, which is said to never burn people to death, actually can only burn masters. The Great Fireball technique of the Uchiha clan is still very famous on the battlefield. Naruto also slowly came to understand this world, more cruel than imagined. Not all ninjas are the same as those seen in the original work, but more are some genin. Using Kagura's mind's eye, he can feel many sources of chakra. The chakra of some genin and chunin is not even as good as Naruto's, and this is because Naruto has not refined the chakra much, but Naruto can already control the chakra in the body very easily. If the 9 tails does not make trouble, Naruto estimates that his control over chakra is not less than that of Sakura when she just graduated. As for Naruto's desire to conduct more in-depth chakra training, such as treading water and climbing trees, it is not realistic because Naruto has no one to teach him, but Naruto can do some simple control without being discovered by the Umbu, just like Naruto is now using the small fireball technique to grill fish, and sprinkled with a little homemade condiment from the knowledge of his previous life. It is simply delicious after taking a bite. Grilled fish skills +5. Thanks to the frequent hunting during this period, Naruto's body has grown very fast. Now he is nearly 5 years old and looks like a 6 or 7-year-old child. However, Naruto probably has more ability that is rewarded by hard work. In the original work, Naruto was thin and short in the early stage, mainly because he often ate insufficient food and ate expired food. Now Naruto, who has an adult mind, naturally will not eat expired food. Naruto, who was eating grilled fish, suddenly saw the 3rd Hokage coming over. With a happy look on his face, he said, "Grandpa 3rd, are you here to give me living expenses?" The 3rd Hokage. "I came to see how you are doing, Naruto." "Are you grilling fish?" The 3rd Hokage tried his best to show a kind face. Looking at the face of the third Hokage, Naruto felt it was fake. Since he didn't come to give me living expenses, what are you doing here? Come to eat my food? Humph. Don't think I don't know. I'm afraid my whereabouts here have been reported to you a long time ago. You even pretended to find me here by accident. The third Hokage grabbed the fish that Naruto was grilling without hesitation and took a bite. Well, it tasted quite good. I didn't expect Naruto to have such a skill. Naruto, why don't you go to the village and play with the kids? The third generation said with a kind look. Third generation grandpa, the children in the village don't like me, and they call me a demon fox, so I don't like to go to the village to play. Third generation grandpa is the best, he always gives me money and delicious food. Third generation. Is this targeting my wallet? Cough cough, Naruto, how about I send you to ninja school next year? That way you can make a lot of friends. Really? Can I make a lot of friends? Forget it, I have a third generation grandfather, which is enough. I want to be a great Hokage like the third generation grandfather. Naruto's face suddenly turned red, as if he was very excited. Ha ha ha. Naruto, it's very difficult to become a Hokage. Where the leaves of Konoha fly, the fire will never stop. After the leaves fall to the ground, they will nourish the roots and finally grow new buds. Hearing the third Hokage say this, Naruto snorted inwardly, why have you, an old man, never been to the battlefield? You didn't make any moves after the Ninetales rebellion was pushed out of Konoha. You are afraid of death. You said you were protecting the villagers and your offspring, so why did you send a few-year-old child to the battlefield? Naruto. This is your living expenses. You must spend it sparingly. I will come to see you again after I leave. The third generation left with a kind face, and before leaving, he gave the living expenses to Naruto. After all, he was Minato's child. There are actually 2,000 yuan. Naruto was a little happy. With the previous 1,500 yuan, he already had 3,500 yuan, and he could eat a few bowls of Ichiraku ramen. After all, apart from Ichiraku ramen, he had little use for his money. After finishing the rest of the fish, Naruto happily picked up the bucket and went home. He went home very late because there were few people at this time, and he didn't want to see the disgusted eyes and deep malice of those ignorant villagers in the village. It was really hard for him to imagine how Naruto in the original work faced the tide of malice without turning evil. The following days were spent in constant practice. As he grew older, Naruto began to try to develop some physical skills. Of course, most of them were hidden. He wanted to try and see if he could. Being able to develop the 6 styles of the Navy like in the pirate world, relying on the ability of God rewarding hard work, it is very likely to succeed. Although it has not succeeded yet, his own strength has become much stronger, but the proficiency in his mind is proving that his practice is possible. Naruto guessed that the 6 styles requires a very strong physical foundation, which is why he cannot succeed. His current physical strength is not enough. Soon it was the end of the year, and Naruto went home after training as usual. It was already winter, and heavy snow covered the entire Konoha. The sky seemed a little dim, and it was already evening. Suddenly several voices came into Naruto's ears. Look, this monster, the eyes are actually white. Let's hit her with stones, this white-eyed monster. Naruto looked in the direction of the voice, and saw 3 or 4 little boys surrounding a little girl. This scene seemed strangely familiar to Naruto. Isn't this the scene in the original novel where Naruto was beaten badly when he was the hero saving the beauty? Hey! Stop it, all of you! Naruto ran up to them and said, he had to take care of this, after all, she was his future wife. It's this demon fox. Do you want to meddle in other people's business? These 2 monsters are really a perfect match, one is a white-eyed monster and the other is a fox demon. Let's teach this fox demon a lesson. Several others also echoed. I'll let you know why the flowers are so red. Naruto grinned and said, his strong physical fitness made it easy for him to knock down these children who were 2 or 3 years older than him. Woo woo woo, don't hit me, I give up. I'm looking for my mother. The demon fox is going to eat people, that a cry rang out, and several people ran away tumbling. Chapter 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No longer caring about the child who ran away, most likely he would go to his mother to complain about himself. This was not the first time, and he was no longer the original Naruto. After possessing the ability of God's reward for hard work, how could these ordinary children bully him? Naruto turned his head and looked at Hinata, the existence who was called the White Eyes Princess in the previous life. What a face, delicate as a porcelain doll, with pupils without any color, coupled with that cute face, instantly hit Naruto's soft heart. It's not that Naruto likes Hinata, but Hinata's face and heart that seemed to be pure. She looked like a blank sheet of paper when she was young, pure and flawless. Thinking of the girl who loved Naruto deeply in the previous life, Naruto suddenly felt that the original Naruto would actually like Sakura, the girl who hated him at the beginning, even if her perception of Naruto improved later. It was just that she wanted to use Naruto's power to get Sasuke back, and she basically just shouted. Naruto when she was desperate, Naruto quickly shook his head, expelling the thought from his mind, and looked at the girl in front of him and said, "Hello, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, what's your name?" Although he knew her name, after all, they had never met before. If he directly said that he knew Hinata, it might arouse the suspicion of the third generation. Looking at the boy who stretched out his hand, Hinata's watery eyes suddenly lowered, and her hand kept scratching her fingers. This was her habit. Whenever she was nervous, she would click her fingers. "My name is Hinata, hatchling, Hinata." Hinata said her name hesitantly, and her face turned red instantly. Puff. Looking at the shy girl in front of him, Naruto burst into laughter. This is really a shy girl. He directly grabbed Hinata's hand and said, "Where is your home?" "I'll take you back." Hinata gently raised her hand and pointed in a direction. When Naruto walked forward, he found a resistance on his hand. Hinata stood there blankly, her face became more and more rosy, as if she was about to faint. Naruto was shocked at this time and said, "Sorry, I didn't mean it." Naruto then remembered that Hinata seemed to be like this when she was shy. In the original anime, Hinata would even have steam coming out of her head, and she was given the title of Steam Princess. However, this is a real world. Hinata's head does not have steam coming out, but her face is the same as in the original. Without, it doesn't matter. Seeing Hinata's cautious look, Naruto raised a smile and said, "Let's go." This time Naruto did not hold Hinata's hand again, otherwise Naruto was afraid that Hinata might faint. The two walked on the dim snow, and they did not speak to each other. Hinata was still looking at Naruto with her peripheral vision. The whole Konoha is larger than a county town in the previous life, and it is much more comprehensive than what is seen in the original book. After Hinata pointed the way several times, Naruto and Hinata finally arrived at where Hinata was. The place is very large, and it is distinguished from the houses of the surrounding residents. It looks very imposing. This is where the Hyuga clan lives. Naruto took off the scarf from his neck and put it on Hinata. Hinata did not refuse, but her face began to turn red again. While Naruto was helping Hinata put on the scarf, one of Hinata's feet kept drawing circles on the ground, constantly scratching her fingers, and she did not dare to look at Naruto. "Well, it's getting late, let's go in early." After giving a warning, Naruto watched Hinata walk towards the gate of the Hyuga clan and knocked on the door gently. After a while, a figure came out and was startled when he saw Hinata outside the door. "Miss Hinata. Why are you here?" When she saw Naruto, a hint of disgust flashed in her eyes. "Miss Hinata, that's a little fox demon, don't get in touch with him." Seeing Hinata walk into the door, Naruto turned and left, but the maid's words reached Naruto's ears, making him pause, but soon he heard a voice that made him very happy. "Naruto-kun is not a monster." The maid was shocked. She saw Hinata raised her head with a stubborn look. She was actually defending the little fox demon. Although Hinata was very cowardly and did not look like an heir to the main family, the maid was still scared. If Hinata's words were heard by the steward, she didn't know what kind of punishment she would receive. "I'm sorry, Miss Hinata." The maid quickly bent down to apologize. Naruto quickened his pace and left here, but his steps were exceptionally brisk. Naruto is in a very good mood now. Not only did he meet his future wife, but in his perception, Hinata did not have the deep malice towards him like others, and what makes people happy is that Naruto's strength has made great progress. According to Naruto's guess, he should be at the level of a genin, and with the help of the ability of God rewards hard work, he successfully developed the small fireball technique into a chain of large fireball techniques. It should not be weaker than Uchiha's great fireball technique. His current strength should be stronger than Kakashi of the same period, but he doesn't have any plugins. If he hadn't been decadent in the later period, he would have been a monster and pervert. There is a long way to go. What happened to Naruto today was passed on to the desk of the third Hokage the next day. Go down. Yes, the masked Anbu knelt on one knee, and the next moment he turned into a black shadow and disappeared on the spot. The third generation looked at the report submitted by the Anbu. Naruto still trained his body and studied the useless little fireball technique every day. It was useless except for turning it into the size of a human head, but it also showed Naruto's talent in ninjutsu. When thinking of another thing mentioned in it. Hinata. Maybe it would be nice to find a bond for Naruto. The third Hokage's mumbling voice echoed in the air. Although Naruto was very sunny when facing him, he thought so, he was still a little cold when facing others, ha. Yes, anyone who was called a demon fox would probably be like this. After thinking about Naruto's dependence on him, the third Hokage couldn't help but feel satisfied. Danzo. This is why I am the Hokage. A year has passed in a flash. This day was the day for ninja school registration, and the third generation personally sent Naruto to school. Naruto. When you go to the ninja school, you must study hard and strive to become a glorious ninja. Yes. I will, Grandpa Sandame. Looking at the kind face of Sandame, Naruto nodded. Sandame is old, no longer the great ninja hero he once was. Power has corrupted his mind. The uproarious incident of Hyuga Hayashi a year ago shows the weakness of Konoha now. Konoha has really declined under the leadership of F4, White Fan died, the three ninjas left, and Uchiha was about to be forced to rebel. It was simply a hand of bad luck. Chapter 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Naruto said goodbye to the third generation, he entered the ninja school. Seeing many children being sent to school by their parents, the warm scene chilled Naruto's heart. They seemed to have forgotten how their peaceful life came about. It was his father's life that bought it. When the villagers saw Naruto, they showed disgust without hiding it, and whispered to the children around them, "You have to be careful of that child, it's a demon fox." Looking at the Konoha villagers whispering, Naruto ignored them, his eyes were full of indifference, and he walked to a corner alone. Shikaku, is that the child? At this time, a fat figure next to him said, "He is Cho among the Ino Shikacho, and also the father of Akimichi Chuji, one of the 12 little warriors of Konoha." The person he just asked is Shikaku Nara, the father of Nara Shikamaru, who is also one of the 12 little warriors. Well, the third Hokage went too far. A soft sigh was heard. With Shikaku's wisdom, how could he not guess Naruto's identity? The golden hair, the dark blue pupils, the new generation of Ninetales Jinchuriki, and Naruto's age. If he still couldn't guess Naruto's identity, then his so-called Konoha think tank would have lived in vain. Although the third Hokage blocked the information, they knew that the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze's wife Kushina Uzumaki was pregnant. Even if the third Hokage released the news that Kushina Uzumaki and her unborn child died in the Ninetales Rebellion, how could Naruto explain it? It's just that he couldn't interfere with all this, he could only let nature take its course. Soon, after the entrance ceremony after the third Hokage's lecture, the class division process soon arrived. The third Hokage, he is indeed very good at capturing people's hearts. He personally serves as the principal of the ninja school and promotes Sarutobi Hiruzen's Will of Fire every year. What makes Naruto most ashamed is that the third generation also tampered with the textbooks and claimed to be the strongest Hokage. Although these textbooks were not written by him, they were definitely instructed by him. Even now when children are playing ninja games, they all say that the third generation is the strongest Hokage. The brainwashing really starts from children. However, his soul is the thinking of an adult, otherwise he would really be fooled by the third generation like the original Naruto, and do his best to sacrifice his life for Konoha. In the words of the great Toad Sage, Naruto is the son of prophecy who will save the ninja world, but Naruto knows that if he wants to truly change the ninja world, he can only change it from beginning to end and change the class of this world. Composition. There was a saying in the previous life, when a country prospers, the people suffer, and when a country perishes, the people suffer. In the wars in the ninja world, the ones who suffer are the lowest level civilians and some civilian ninjas who are thrown into the battlefield as cannon fodder, and those high-ranking rulers are still living a life of luxury and dissipation. Who would have thought that the rulers of this world are the daimyo who are ordinary people? The first generation Hokage, Senju Hashirama, started a system of one country and one village, thinking that this was the real way to achieve peace, but these were just his wishful thinking. This is just to elevate the war from small villages, small tribes and family-style wars to a larger level. In general, most of the wars in the ninja world are for resources, just like the Sand Village. Why do they always want to capture the Land of Fire? Isn't it because of the Fire Country? The Kingdom of Fire is rich in resources, while the Kingdom of Wind is located in the desert and is short of resources. The water resources that are ubiquitous in the Kingdom of Fire are scarce in the Kingdom of Wind. The same is true for several other ninja villages, but unfortunately, the geniuses in Konoha village in the Kingdom of Fire are endless. After the death of Hashirama Senju, there have been constant stream of geniuses emerging to protect Konoha. Naruto is more inclined to Uchiha Madara's way, to directly push forward and unify the ninja world, but Uchiha Madara did not form a community of interests with others, which led to others being unwilling to follow Uchiha Madara to break this seemingly peaceful tranquility. But now is not the time to think about these issues. The most important thing for him now is to master the strength to survive, so that he will be qualified to change this sick world. Suddenly a voice broke Naruto's thoughts. The class division begins now. If you hear your name, please go to the class and wait for your teacher. Ono Jiro. Class C. Shiranui Shwanya. Class B. Uchiha Takashi. Class B. Inazuka Kiba. Class A. Haruno Sakura. Class A. As the names were read one by one, Naruto also heard many familiar people. It's not that Class A is the best class, but it is definitely the most special class. Almost all the people from the big families of Konoha are in Class A. Of course, there are a few children from ordinary families who got in by luck, for example, Haruno Sakura, and a few extras. Uchiha Sasuke. Class A. Uzumaki Naruto. Class A. Naruto also heard his own name. As expected, he was also in Class A. When he heard Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto looked at the Uchiha Sasuke who was wearing the Uchiha clan emblem and had a proud face. He looked like a little boy. The second pillar of the Uchiha clan before the extermination was still quite cute. Now he looks like a child pretending to be calm. It must be said that the genes of the Uchiha family are really good. Uchiha Sasuke has shown a good appearance since he was a child. No wonder he was so attractive to girls later. When hearing the name Uzumaki Naruto, Sasuke also looked at Naruto, this person who seemed very strange to him. Why did those people call him a demon fox, when he was obviously no different from us? Well, I'm different. I'm from the Uchiha clan. Under the influence of his clan members, the young Sasuke is also proud of the Uchiha. However, he has not yet been stained with the arrogance of the Uchiha. Now, there are indeed some arrogant and domineering Uchiha people, but this is not all. The crowd found themselves. The class was quietly waiting for their teacher, but there were always a few who couldn't sit still. Looking around, Naruto looked at the classmates in front of him who he would live and practice with for 6 years in the future. The one with oil paint on his face should be Inazuka Kiba, but he was still young and his only friend was not around. If Naruto remembered correctly, it should be Akamaru. There was also a fat man eating potato chips, who seemed indifferent to everything, as if the potato chips in his hand were the whole world, and next to him, there was a pineapple head, who looked listless, lying on the table, wondering what he was thinking. Next to them, there was also a beautiful blonde little loli, who should be Ino, who was looking at Uchiha Sasuke with other little girls. People can't help but sigh that the children in the Naruto world are really precocious. Nowadays, girls basically know what they should know. Unlike him in his previous life, he didn't know anything about love at this age. Naruto also saw Hinata, walked over, sat directly next to Hinata, and greeted her happily. "Naruto, sir, it's been a long time, not see." Hinata responded to Naruto in a halting manner, and Naruto couldn't help but smile as he saw her face gradually turning red. Chapter 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. While everyone was chattering, a few long-legged little girls gathered in front of Uchiha Sasuke, and no one even knew when they came in. Irika, who pushed open the door and came in, was still in the principal's office listening to the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen's speech. "Irika. I plan to put Uzumaki Naruto in your class. I think you are the most suitable person to teach him." The voice of the third Hokage came slowly, and Irika was a little stunned, because the third Hokage told him that Uzumaki Naruto was the current Ninetales Jinchuriki, which made him a little upset. His parents died at the hands of the Ninetales, which made him a little overwhelmed and even a little hateful towards this boy who was called a demon fox by the villagers. Irika sighed deeply and said, "Third Hokage, I understand. This is their information, take a look." The third generation pushed a document to Irika with his hand. Irika flipped it open and couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, because the names on the list were basically all the disciples of the big families in Konoha, the heirs of the Uchiha clan, the main family of the Hyuga clan, and even the descendants of the Ino Shikacho, as well as members of some families in Konoha. Only a few civilians were mixed in. "Lord Third Hokage, can I really do this?" "Irika, don't belittle yourself. I've seen your achievements. You can definitely do it. I'll leave those kids to you," Sandai said softly, then turned and walked out of the office, leaving Irika in a daze. After a while, Irika, with a slightly apprehensive mood, took the file bags of several people to the classroom where Class A was located, walked through 2 corridors, walked to a door with the sign of Class A printed on it, slowly opened the door, and saw the scene that made Irika a little angry. Bang! He threw the file bag in his hand on the table, and the sudden sound scared everyone. When they saw who was coming, they knew that the teacher had come, and they quickly sat up. After seeing everyone sitting down, Irika breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Next, let's get to know each other. Those whose names are called, introduce their dreams and hobbies." Irika opened the roster prepared by Sandai before, and called out the name on it, Sano Dalong. At this time, a little fat man who looked a little sturdy stood up and said loudly, "Hello everyone. My name is Sano Dairo, and my dream is to become a Hokage. My hobbies are fitness and food." Everyone burst into laughter when they heard this. No wonder he looks fat and a little strong, but this is just a strong fat man. Okay, everyone, stop laughing. Dalong's hobbies and dreams are all good. The next classmate is Haruno Sakura. The second classmate is someone Naruto is familiar with. A girl wearing a cheongsam, with pink hair and a slightly broad forehead stood up and said, "Hello everyone, my name is Haruno Sakura, my best friend is Ino, and my dream is to become a great female ninja like Tsunade-sama." Sakura is still a freshman, she hasn't had a falling out with Ino, and she hasn't completely fallen in love with Sasuke, but she is one of the girls who just surrounded Sasuke. The next classmates all introduced themselves as becoming Hokage or something like that. "Uzumaki Naruto, is it my turn?" Naruto slowly stood up from Hinata's side and said, "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like Ichiraka ramen, and my dream is to bring nuclear peace to the world and study the mysteries of all things in the world." This can be regarded as Naruto's dream. Anyway, in the end he decided to embark on the path of being an enemy of the world and finally bring nuclear peace to the world. Since he has the ability of God's reward for hard work, Naruto has also become interested in studying the mysteries of the world. No matter what he does, it is an easy thing for Naruto. Because if you do it, you will gain something. However, Naruto discovered that the deeper his knowledge and cognition, the stronger his ability of God's reward for hard work. This made Naruto try every means to acquire knowledge. Naruto's idea is very good, world peace, right? What a great idea. In the ninja world, peace is simply unimaginable, but Irika did not refute any child's dream, even if the child in front of him was the object of his hatred. However, when he heard Naruto's dream, Iruka's heart was still touched, and his hatred for Naruto inexplicably weakened a bit. The child in front of him is just the carrier of the Nine Tails, and he is also a poor child. Maybe he should not be prejudiced against him, but Iruka can't untie his knot for him now. When Naruto introduced himself, Uchiha Sasuke also looked at this guy who was a little strange to him. He was even more arrogant than him, but he was still a little shocked by Naruto's dream. Uchiha Sasuke, upon hearing his name being called, Sasuke stood up quickly and said loudly, "My name is Uchiha Sasuke. My favorite person is my brother. I hate people who disturb me and my brother. I like tricolor balls, and my dream is to let the glory of Uchiha resound throughout the village." The children who heard Sasuke's introduction praised him one after another, mostly girls. Naruto looked at the boy who was introduced in front of him. Now he is not the boy in the original book who is full of hatred and revenge all the time. Now he is just a slightly arrogant boy. However, Sasuke was still influenced by Uchiha. He kept talking about the glory of Uchiha. He was still too naive. Next, all the classmates introduced themselves one by one. When it was Hinata's turn, Naruto found that she was a little nervous. Naruto pulled Hinata's hand and then let go, but Hinata's face still blushed. Looking at Naruto's encouraging eyes, Hinata slowly said, "Hello everyone. My name is Hyuga Hinata. My dream is to become a gentle and virtuous woman like my mother." Hinata sat down quickly after she finished speaking, lowering her head. Naruto saw that Hinata's fair neck suddenly turned pink. Naruto thought Hinata was nervous, but in fact, Hinata was nervous. Naruto-kun shook my hand. Shake my hand. Iruka saw Hinata's look inside in his heart. As the heir of the Hyuga family, he couldn't be so weak. With Iruka's calls, all the classmates introduced themselves soon, and then recorded each classmate's hobbies and dreams. These were to be reviewed by the third generation, because a person's dreams and hobbies can show what kind of person he is. Of course, it may not be comprehensive, but it is also very important information. After the introduction, Iruka closed the booklet he had just written. "Hello everyone, today is our first day of school. We won't do too much. The formal teaching will start tomorrow. You can go home after the bell rings." As Iruka's voice fell, everyone quieted down and waited quietly for the end of school. Nowadays, many children are still restless. Haruno Sakura came to Ino's side and whispered something, and her eyes were glancing at Sasuke obscurely. As for Nara Shikamaru, he looked bored and began to sleep on the table. Choji was still eating the potato chips in his hand carefully, as if the potato chips in his hand were the most important. Uchiha Sasuke pretended to be cold, but in fact he was still paying attention to when the class would end. He wanted to go home and share his today's events with his brother. Ding ding ding. After a while, the bell rang in the slightly agonizing wait of the crowd. Naruto said hello to Hinata and left. Uchiha Sasuke watched this strange guy in front of him walk through the crowd without any hesitation. This direction? It seems to be the back mountain. Why is he going there? Sasuke looked at this strange man, and he didn't know why he paid attention to this person who didn't seem to be special. If there was anything special, it was that his eyes were very deep. Naruto didn't know at this time that he had been regarded as a strange person, but even if he knew, Naruto would not have any thoughts. The most important thing for him now is to practice and strive to become stronger as soon as possible. Chapter 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Naruto found that when he was in school, the Umbu who was monitoring him disappeared. They probably didn't worry about any danger in the ninja school. Also, the class he was in was a class where all the heirs of the major families were present. If someone dared to do something about it, they would die without knowing how. After leaving the school gate, the feeling of being monitored came to his mind again. After Naruto used Kagura's mind eye to check, he found that the number of Umbu monitoring him had been reduced from 4 to 2. The Umbu who hated him before had disappeared. Maybe he was afraid that the Umbu would hurt him. Naruto came to the place where he usually practiced as usual. This was an open space. Few people came here. It was a good place for practice. What came into view was a stream, which was clear to the bottom, and the pebbles were clearly visible. You could even see some fish poking their heads out. There were several tall trees around, dozens of meters high, with lush leaves. Next to the stream was a very tall rock wall, which looked very dangerous. The distance of dozens of meters was nothing for a ninja. Naruto usually used this rock to practice rock climbing and climb up the high slope above. There are several wooden stakes near the big tree. These were made by Naruto for training. In the eyes of professionals, it may be just a very simple training ground, but for Naruto, this is the only condition. With the power of God rewarding hard work, the progress is far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Just like when Naruto was training, he was not afraid of being observed by the Umbu in the dark. Although Naruto only showed the normal progress of a genius in training, his overall strength improvement was not as shown. Naruto walked to the front of the wooden stakes and began to practice as usual, and began to kick the wooden stakes continuously. A voice began to come intermittently in his mind: physical strength +2, power +1, physical strength +3, strength +2. Naruto could feel his body getting stronger. As he sweated and his muscles became more tired, he gained more as God rewarded his hard work. After kicking the wooden stake, Naruto began to challenge the cliff in front of him. He could not use chakra to attach, and had to rely on his physical fitness to complete the challenge. This was undoubtedly a challenging thing for a 6-year-old child, but it was no longer a difficult thing for Naruto now, because day after day, Naruto had mastered the master-level rock climbing skills. As Naruto continued to climb, a voice continued to come from Naruto's mind: rock climbing skills +1. Strength +2. Physical fitness +1. Spirit +0.1. That's right, rock climbing training will not only increase Naruto's strength and physical strength, but also strengthen Naruto's mental strength. It may be because training is a matter of tempering the spirit, but now the training is not as difficult for Naruto as before. Therefore, the tempering of the spirit has been reduced, but it will still increase a little mental strength, and Naruto does not dislike it. After all, a little bit adds up to a lot. Naruto can now reach the level of elite genin with just physical skills. It seems that he is not as good as the 6-year-old Kakashi in the original work, but Naruto is higher than Kakashi in overall level. This is mainly because Naruto has no one to teach him, and even his training cannot be fully relaxed. Who taught Kakashi when he was a child? Konoha White Fang. Even the 3 ninjas were not as famous as White Fang at that time. They were considered strong among the Kage level. However, Naruto also knows his shortcomings, that is, ninjutsu. If there are ninjutsu now, with Naruto's chakra, Naruto can become a chunin, and his combat power can even reach the level of elite chunin. The reason why combat power is reached is mainly because the knowledge required by ninjas is not only combat power, but also combat experience, intelligence gathering, trap skills, assassination skills, etc. However, Naruto is confident that he can become a strong man with the ability of God's reward for hard work. Naruto has not refined too much chakra now, and he knows the importance of foundation. Besides, there are still 6 years before the start of the plot, so there is no need to rush. If his true strength is exposed, it will be more trouble than gain. Even the 3rd Hokage and Danzo didn't care about Naruto's training in taijutsu. In their eyes, taijutsu was just a minor skill. The achievements that could be achieved were limited. If it weren't for the fact that during the Third World War, Might Guy's father Might Dai used the 8 gates to kick the 7 ninja swordsmen to pieces, they might have paid less attention to taijutsu. Even if Might Dai shone with a moment of light, it was only a moment of brilliance gained by using his life. He was just one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, and in front of a Kage-level powerhouse, he was no more than that. As for the current Might Guy, he is just an ordinary jonin. Except for Kakashi, no one knows his potential. Naruto climbed up and down the cliffs again and again, and then lay on the ground, sweat streaming down his cheeks. In fact, Naruto still had 1/3 of his physical strength. My current strength should be able to support my development of the 6 styles. I didn't consider the issue of chakra before. Perhaps I can use the combination of chakra and the 6 styles to practice. It may be easier. Maybe I can even develop my own ninjutsu. At present, my strength is taijutsu, and I only have taijutsu. As for ninjutsu, there is only one, which is the continuous fireball technique. It is quite powerful among the middle and lower ninjas, but it is not powerful enough for the special jonins and above. My mental strength is very strong because I have been a human in 2 lifetimes, and I must master illusions in the future. Although in the original work I relied on the 9-tailed fox to not be afraid of illusions, that was just an ordinary illusion. Now that I have the ability of God rewards hard work, my mental strength in the future will be very terrifying, and I may not be afraid of the kaleidoscope's illusions. Illusion is also a development direction. Besides, I didn't know any other ninjutsu except for the ball rolling technique and the multiple shadow clone technique. It was a complete waste of my own chakra. The other is medical ninjutsu, which can not only heal oneself, but also teammates. It is simply like a nurse. If one can reach Tsunade's level, it is equivalent to being half immortal. My chakra is no less than Tsunade's. Maybe it would be nice to get in touch with Tsunade in the future. Naruto slowly thought about his future development in his mind. Oh, there is also a sealing technique. The sealing technique is very magical in Naruto's eyes. Its role has been shown many times in the original work. The barrier is related to the seal. There is also a sealing seal that can create a scroll to store items. It is simply a storage ring in the world of immortal cultivation. If it were someone else, they would probably choose one path, but for me, I can become omnipotent. Naruto thought proudly that the reward from God for hard work gave him the power to do things, and it was no longer twice the result with half the effort, but 10 times the result with 1 effort, or even more, because the reward from God for hard work could also force Naruto to increase his proficiency in a direction that he didn't understand at all. Even if Naruto had thought about the principle of sealing techniques, he would think, understanding of sealing techniques plus 0.0001. Naruto didn't understand sealing techniques at all. Although the reward from God for hard work could help him understand the existence of sealing techniques, the increased proficiency was pitifully small. Naruto probably thought it was because he knew nothing about sealing techniques. It was a complete blank sheet of paper, so before he got some knowledge of sealing techniques, Naruto didn't plan to study sealing techniques too much, and Naruto's future direction is to focus on physical techniques and ninjutsu, supplemented by illusion techniques and medical ninjutsu. Chapter 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After resting, Naruto did not press his body, but took out the fishing rod that he had hidden long ago, ran to the upstream 100 meters to fish. According to Naruto's observation, the fish here are the most abundant. With Naruto's almost full-level fishing skills, Naruto soon harvested a lot. Looking at the few fish caught in the bucket, Naruto smiled a little, and carried the bucket to the bottom of a cliff a few dozen meters away from the river. There was a small cave inside. This was the hole that Naruto had dug before. It was not big, but it could prevent rainwater from penetrating on rainy days. Putting the bucket near the hole in the wall, Naruto walked out of the cave and came to the woods at a speed beyond ordinary people. There was a trap he left yesterday, a simple hunting trap, a trap figured out for survival, with no technical difficulty, and the 3rd generation did not doubt it. When Naruto came here, there was already a trapped rabbit here. Naruto picked up the rabbit's ears, shook the weight, smiled and said, "Not bad luck." That if he didn't catch the prey, Naruto would have to eat the fish he had caught before. He carried the rabbit back to the outside of the cave and took out a kunai from the ninja bag in his pants. This was a gift from the 3rd generation to Naruto on the eve of Naruto's ninja school. He scraped the scales of the fish and cleaned the rabbit skillfully. With the ability of God's way of rewarding hard work and the cooking skills that Naruto had cultivated over the years, he could easily handle these. He skillfully used the kunai to cut a few branches and quickly roasted the rabbit. The fish was cooked in a pot. This was what Naruto asked the 3rd generation for before. The 3rd generation also knew that Naruto often practiced here and cooked for himself, so he purchased an extra set of tableware for Naruto, and because of Naruto's cooking skills, the 3rd generation would also come to eat Naruto's dinner. In fact, the 3rd generation's purpose was to deepen Naruto's feelings for him, and eating was still incidental. However, because of Naruto's superb cooking skills, the 3rd generation was happy to come here. In his mind, Naruto has become very dependent on him, but in fact, Naruto is not interested in his emotional card at all. Isn't it the third Hokage who forced Naruto to become what he is now? If Naruto hadn't come out to be independent, he might still be drinking expired milk and eating poor quality food bought by others. He has the ability to return his parents' house and the assets saved by his parents. As the fourth Hokage, why would he live in a small house? As parents, how could they not leave some assets for him? He originally wanted to make himself a hero of the village, but now, if it were according to his mother's temper, if she knew his life, she would probably want to tear down Konoha. The food was soon finished. Well, my cooking skills have improved again. Licking his lips, Naruto patted his belly, stood up with satisfaction, and began to run towards home. The sun was no longer visible, and the moon was already out. Tomorrow, there were only a few people running fast on the street. Naruto ran quickly and felt a few disgusted looks. He didn't pay much attention to it. He had already gotten used to these looks over the years. Naruto soon returned to his hut. Although it was small, Naruto had tidied it up very cleanly, and it was no longer as messy as in the original book. After returning, Naruto washed off the stinky sweat caused by today's training and soon fell asleep. Sunrise in the morning, Naruto straightened his clothes. There were many kinds of clothes in Naruto's wardrobe. They were no longer the same few sets of clothes in the original work. He asked the third generation to buy them for him because no one would sell him clothes. Of course, the third generation paid for it and occupied his parents' assets. He only had a small amount of pension, so he had to be thick-skinned. Naruto looked in the mirror. Well, he was still very handsome. Now Naruto looked very strong because of sufficient food and training, and his mental outlook was much better. He set out on the road to the ninja school. When Naruto arrived, only some of them had arrived, but Hinata had already arrived. Naruto-kun. Hearing Hinata greet him, Naruto smiled and said, "Hello, Hinata." Hinata's heart was beating fast. Naruto smiled at me. Seeing Hinata's face turn red again, Naruto's mouth curled up a little smile again. Isn't Hinata attractive? I really don't know how Naruto in the original novel could fall in love with Sakura. After a while, people arrived one after another. As the bell rang, Irika entered the classroom on time. "Hello everyone, this is our first class, so I won't waste any time. Does anyone know what it takes to become a ninja?" Irika kept looking at the students in the class, watching them whispering. "Uchiha Sasuke. You tell me something." Sasuke stood up, like a peacock, raised his head and glanced at everyone proudly, then said, "It's chakra. Chakra is a kind of energy extracted from 130 trillion human cells in a specific ratio of mental and physical energy." After that, Uchiha Sasuke sat down proudly, causing a group of crazy women to exclaim. "Very good. Sasuke is right. If you want to become a ninja, the most important thing is chakra. Chakra is the foundation of becoming a ninja. Next, I will teach you how to refine chakra." Irika's voice was very stable, and he spoke in detail. In this world, even physical ninjas have chakra in their bodies, just like Might Guy and Rock Lee, who also have chakra in their bodies, but their ninjutsu talent is too poor. Everyone listened to Irika's explanation, and the civilian children listened with fascination and were very serious. After all, this is the foundation of their existence in this world. People in the Naruto world mature early, and children of a few years old have basically the same cognition as teenagers in their previous lives. Naruto looked at the people around him. Shikamaru still looked careless, and Sasuke did not refine chakra. It seems that the children of several large families have practiced chakra in their families. Their foundation has long been different from those ordinary children. The morning time is basically to refine chakra. After all, chakra is the foundation, and in the afternoon it is to conduct theory. Wow, open the book. It is the book of the will of fire. The opening is where the leaves of Konoha fly. The fire is also endless. The flames will illuminate the village and grow new buds. After that, the history of Konoha and the deeds of the first Hokage were introduced, but they were different from what he knew. The third Hokage was really shameless to portray himself as the strongest Hokage in history. There were also some theories that were full of the flavor of pyramid schemes. After being influenced by modern times, Naruto felt that this teaching material was not mature at all. After several days, he was on the way to learn theories, and Naruto went to his small base for training after school as usual, but today Iruka suddenly announced that there would be a practical class today. The practical class is divided into kunai throwing and combat training. This made everyone present very excited. After all, they have been learning boring theoretical knowledge for several days. Naruto didn't think it was difficult. Although his memory has not reached the level of photographic memory, it is not much worse. Even Naruto himself doesn't know how strong his mental strength is now. Chapter 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Following Iruka, we came to the training ground. Although it was a small training ground, it was enough for the students of the ninja school. Next. Let's do the kunai throwing training, Iruka said loudly. He asked everyone to line up. There were a total of 10 targets in this training ground. 10 people were in a group and they were throwing kunai. There were about 20 people in their whole class, which meant that 2.5 groups could do one round. Uchiha Sasuke was in the first group and stood side by side. After Iruka gave the order, everyone threw the kunai in their hands at the target. Swish, swish, swish. A few slight sounds of breaking through the air sounded, and soon the kunai was thrown onto the target. It can be clearly observed that Uchiha Sasuke slightly pressed down his wrist when throwing the kunai. Obviously, he had specially trained the kunai training. Uchiha throwing technique. I didn't expect Sasuke to start training now. As for the others, none of them missed the target. The worst was one ring. Some people seem to be training kunai throwing for the first time. It seems that they are still a little talented. They are worthy of being Class A. The most dazzling one is Uchiha Sasuke, who actually hit the bull's eye. Uchiha Sasuke. 10 rings. Early Spring Ui. 3 rings. Inazuka Kiba. 7 rings. Fuji Itsuki. 2 rings. Iruka kept announcing everyone's results, while Uchiha Sasuke raised his proud head again and looked at everyone. Naruto found it funny. After all, he was still a child, with a competitive mentality, especially Inazuka Kiba. Seeing Sasuke being warmly welcomed by the girls, he couldn't help but sneer, huh? What's so great? I just made a mistake just now. Although Inazuka Kiba had been exposed to the practice of kunai throwing several times in the family, he was not interested at all. He was more interested in the family's ninja dogs. In a few years, he would get his own ninja dog. Naruto was in the second group, and Hinata was there too. He smiled and encouraged Hinata. He knew that the girl needed encouragement. Soon, another round of kunai was thrown, and Naruto deliberately threw 8 rings. With the ability of God rewarding hard work, Naruto quickly mastered the throwing skills and reached the level of proficiency. Now he can throw as many rings as he wants. After all, it is just a dead object that can't move. When he got the kunai, he also used the big tree to practice accuracy. Uzumaki Naruto. 8th ring. Nara Shikamaru. 9th ring. Haruno Sakura. 5 rings. Surprisingly, Haruno Sakura, who had never thrown a kunai, actually threw 5 rings. No wonder she was able to become Tsunade's apprentice later. It seems that she is talented. Although Naruto dislikes Haruno Sakura a little, he has never found any ill will towards him in Haruno Sakura. This may be the reason why Naruto likes Haruno Sakura in the original work. In fact, Haruno Sakura is not ugly, with pink hair and big eyes. She looks quite cute, except that her forehead is a little wide. Basically, she is a kawaii loli. Almost everyone in this class has no ill will towards Naruto, which makes Naruto wonder if they were specially selected. Hyuga Hinata. 9 rings. Soon everyone finished throwing, and 2 people in the last group missed the target. This was normal, but being able to throw accurately for the first time still showed that some people had talent in this area. In the following time, Iruka asked everyone to practice on their own. The first time was just to see how talented everyone was. Of course, it was just to test the talent for kunai. He also knew that some of the family members must have been exposed to kunai training when they were in the family. Naruto was a little bored. It would be better to let him train himself than to let him train this. Practicing these things was simply a waste of his time. After training for more than 2 hours, most people's arms were sore. As for a few people who were lazy, such as Shikamaru, these trainings were too simple for him. As for Choji, I don't know when he took out a bag of snacks and started eating. At this time, Iruka suddenly asked everyone to take a break and conduct actual combat training later. For a while, several people screamed, especially Inuzuka Kiba, who already disliked Uchiha Sasuke, always stealing his limelight. Half an hour passed quickly. Fuji Itsuki vs Onojiro. Seal of opposition. Soon the two students came to the middle. After forming the seal of opposition, they looked at each other warily, and then rushed towards each other at the same time. There was no beauty in their fight, but both of them used chakra, attached to their hands and feet to make simple attacks. Although they looked small, with the help of chakra, the damage caused by their punches and kicks actually made a dent in the ground. With the help of chakra, the power of the two was even more terrifying than that of ordinary adults. It must be said that ordinary people, even children, are more respectful in front of ninjas, because the power of ninjas is like that of gods in their eyes. After the two fought for a few minutes, the chakra was almost exhausted. The amount of chakra of the two was still too little. After that, the two relied on physical strength to fight, and finally Fuji Itsuki slightly defeated Onojiro with his physique. Make the seal of reconciliation. After the two made the seal of reconciliation, it meant that the previous grudges were wiped out. Soon, the groups of people fought. During the battle, Inuzuka Kiba protested because he was fighting others. He wanted to challenge Uchiha Sasuke. But Iruka refused. Uzumaki Naruto vs Uchiha Sasuke. Seal of opposition. After the two of them made the seal of opposition, Naruto had a headache. He knew he couldn't win, otherwise it would definitely attract attention. The news of defeating the son of the Uchiha clan leader would spread everywhere the next day. When Naruto was thinking about how much strength to use, Uchiha Sasuke seized the opportunity and attacked. It must be said that Uchiha Sasuke's attack was much faster than the previous attacks of Fuji Itsuki and Onojiro. Naruto quickly counterattacked and punched Sasuke. So fast, Sasuke sighed, and their fists collided tightly together. Suddenly, a huge force came from his arm. Sasuke endured the numbness of his arm and continued to attack. Naruto felt the power of his attack on Sasuke, and saw that Sasuke could actually bear it. Well. As expected of the second pillar, he can actually withstand 1/20th of his own power. I must survive. I must not expose my strength. The two kept moving around and attacking, and Naruto suddenly found that Sasuke's arm was trembling a little. Damn! Second pillar. What are you pretending to be when you can't hold on? Naruto suddenly pretended to be physically exhausted. After fighting with Sasuke for a few minutes, he was kicked by Sasuke and flew out with the force. With Naruto's current superb acting skills, others can't see the problem at all. As for Sasuke, he was a little confused. Is it really physically exhausted? How can he have such great strength? Humph. After all, he is physically weak. The arrogant Sasuke trembled again. Yeah. Sasuke won. Sasuke is awesome. Sasuke's girl group started cheering, causing the boys to gnash their teeth, wondering why they were not as popular. Chapter 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Make the seal of reconciliation. The two made the seal of reconciliation with each other. Although Sasuke's hands were still shaking slightly, he couldn't stop the excitement on his face. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the two were very strong. If things went as expected, the top student of this class would be born in their hands. The afternoon passed quickly, and when it was time to go home from school, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't wait to pack his school bag and ran home, without even looking at Naruto before leaving. As for Naruto, he did not go to his training ground as usual, but prepared to go to the school library to read some professional books. Because he had learned from Iruka that the school library would be open today. Uchiha Sasuke ran back home at a fast pace. When he reached a telephone pole, a voice suddenly rang out, "Sasuke." Uchiha Sasuke looked up and a look of joy instantly appeared on his little face. "Brother! Why are you here?" Seeing Sasuke's happy look, Itachi jumped down from the electric pole. He wanted to wait for Sasuke at home, but his longing for him made him want to wait for him on the road that Sasuke must pass. He stood on the electric pole just to see Sasuke enter his field of vision faster and more clearly. "I have completed my mission. I will wait for you here. I have just arrived for a while." Itachi rarely smiled. At this moment, in front of his brother, Itachi smiled particularly happily. "I will always protect you, Sasuke. Brother. I won the first place in the practical class today. How is it?" "Awesome, right?" Sasuke said excitedly. "I also met a powerful guy today. If it weren't for his lack of physical strength, I might have lost. Our Sasuke is so awesome." Itachi pinched Sasuke's nose. Itachi touched Sasuke's head, and then said, "Come on up. I'll carry you." Squatting down slowly, Itachi carried Sasuke on his back. Itachi accidentally touched Sasuke's arm, and Sasuke suddenly gasped. Itachi quickly noticed Sasuke's abnormality, and hurriedly put Sasuke down, lifted Sasuke's sleeves, and clearly saw that Sasuke's arms were a little bruised and red and swollen. This was due to the huge external force, and the only thing that could make Sasuke become like this was the practical class that Sasuke mentioned. To have such strength, it shouldn't be due to physical exhaustion. It seems that your classmate is not simple. Itachi squatted down carefully and took out a bottle of swelling spray and a roll of bandage from the ninja bag. Ninjas have to face many things outside, and necessary first aid measures and equipment may save their lives. "Brother, I'm fine. Dad will be unhappy if he sees it." Sasuke pouted. He thought that a night's rest would be enough. It was totally unnecessary. Suddenly Sasuke was stunned for a moment and said, "Brother, how do you know that my classmate is not simple?" "Sasuke, look at your arm, it has become like this. It means his strength is greater than yours. You probably took his attack. You can still win. It means your opponent must be hiding his weakness." Itachi said with a smile, but in fact he was a little confused as to who could beat Sasuke like this. "Humph. Damn it." Sasuke was a little angry at the moment. No wonder he felt that his victory was a little strange. It turned out that Uzumaki Naruto was pretending to be exhausted. His brother was right. People's physical fitness is proportional. Basically, there is no weak guy with strong strength, that guy has a strong body. Obviously, he exercises regularly and his physical strength must be good. Damn it, that guy really lost to me on purpose. I will definitely beat him next time. Brother, you have to teach me how to practice. Sasuke clenched his fists. Good. Good. Itachi carried Sasuke on his back again, and the two of them left with laughter. Their shadows were very long against the backdrop of the evening sun. On the other hand, Naruto has taken the books he borrowed from the library home and will return them after a week. In the ninja school, it is not like in the village. Although the ninjas in the library hate him, they still give him the books. Naruto borrowed 3 books in total. One is a detailed explanation of illusions, which is a book that specifically introduces illusions and some basic illusion principles. It also records some hand seals related to illusions and countermeasures when encountering illusions. It does not record some methods of practicing illusions. The essence of illusions is to mobilize chakra through hand seals to deceive the enemy's senses. Those who are strong in mental strength and have a talent for illusions basically go the illusion route, such as Yuhi Kurenai. His illusions can even compete with the Sharingan. Of course, it refers to illusions below the Mangekyo. However, the Uchiha family does not rely solely on illusions. It is estimated that they are not the opponent of the Uchiha in a fight. Of course, it refers to the same level. As for the other book, it is a detailed explanation of physical skills, which contains many training methods for basic physical skills. Naruto felt that he had gained a lot. In his mind, Principles of Illusion +5. Principles of Illusion +6, Basic Physical Technique Understanding +3, Basic Physical Technique Understanding +2, Naruto felt that voices kept coming out of his mind after just flipping through the book a few times. His own understanding of illusions also instantly deepened. As for the small increase in physical techniques, Naruto guessed that it might be because he had included some basic physical techniques in his usual training. As for the other book, it was about elementary trap making. Most of the books in the library are basic, and it is estimated that most of the truly valuable ones are hidden in the professional book collections of major families and Konoha, but Naruto is already very satisfied. Basics are sometimes very important. Naruto also saw a very good book, but the maximum he can borrow is 3. The name of the book is called Chakra Properties and Detailed Explanation of Hand Seals. Naruto couldn't wait to borrow it. Then he started flipping through the books. With Naruto's current memory and comprehension, and with the help of the ability of God's reward for hard work, Naruto easily absorbed the contents of the book. Naruto was immersed in the world of the book. When Naruto raised his head, he twisted his neck, which was a little sore, and looked again. It was already midnight. Although Naruto read very quickly, he still finished the book at midnight. After reading 3 books, Naruto felt that his knowledge of illusion, physical skills and trap layout had deepened a lot, and he felt like a person who had been immersed in this for many years. Naruto felt that his knowledge of traps had improved greatly, and the manufacturing of traps and the improvement methods of previous traps involuntarily emerged in his mind. The reason why Naruto chose this elementary trap-making book was because he wanted to use most of his time to practice. Learning trap manufacturing would make hunting easier. Slowly closing the textbook, Naruto was ready to go to bed. Although he had mastered all the knowledge in it, his understanding even exceeded the content in the book. Naruto did not plan to return the books in his hand to the library tomorrow. After all, remembering and understanding 3 books in one night was too much. Most people had a photographic memory, which was already very good. Unlike him, he not only had a nearly photographic memory, but also had a cheating ability like God rewards hard work.